Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for Humanities at Play. For those of you who might not know me, my name is Kathleen Kuo, and I am a program manager with Nevada Humanities, which is our state's council partner of the National Endowment for the Humanities. With Humanities at Play, our goal is to pair gameplay and other interactive activities with thoughtful discussions about the humanities and how they shape and enrich our everyday lives. It's been a lot of fun recently organizing these streams as a way for our audience and all of our friends in chat to get to know our invited guests better while we highlight specific games. We participate in poetry workshops together, and we've even done a recent cooking demonstration from our kitchen. So it's great to see you all here. Thank you so much for joining us. A couple quick notes before we get started. If you are a first-time Twitch user, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. If you would like to chat with us and ask questions, I encourage you to make a free account. And that way, if you want to ask questions today of Sam while we're playing or comment, you can do that with a free Twitch account. If you are a newer user of Twitch as well, we have a fun feature called a chat command, which is an exclamation point followed by a keyword. So we have a couple of those chat commands listed in the title of today's stream, as well as in the About section on our Twitch. So feel free to try them out. And I already see some of you using those in chat right now, which is great. So today, I am so excited to have joining me on stream Sam Opsahl, who is a program associate with Indiana Humanities. I'm so excited I can't even speak straight. So Sam was born and raised in Indianapolis. I know we have a couple people in our stream right now who are either living in Indiana or have attended schools in Indiana. So this is the stream for you today if you are here. Sam received his bachelor's degree from his beloved Purdue University in history before coming home to get his master's degree in public history from IUPUI. After finishing his schoolwork, Sam took on positions with organizations like the Indiana State Museum, the Indianapolis Public Library, the YMCA of Greater Indianapolis, and the University of Indianapolis. And since July 2021, he's worked for Indiana Humanities, which is our Nevada Humanities counterpart, but in Indiana, where he's designed and put on several events for the current environmental thematic focus. And we'll get more into that during today's stream. Currently, Sam lives with his wife Alicia in Indy, and together they like to spend their time traveling to see friends and family, hunting for a good story on TV, searching for the latest and greatest local spots to eat, and playing with their puppy Harley. So, Sam, thanks so much for joining me today on stream.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This is like really, really cool programming that you all are doing right now.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super excited too, and I'm just thrilled that we get to I think you are our first actual Humanities Council staff, not with Nevada Humanities, that we've worked with, and I think this is a great opportunity to meet and greet other Humanities Council friends from around the state, from around the nation, just so we can hear what you're up to, and for people who are tuning in from other parts of the nation, not just Nevada or Indiana, this is a great chance for you to hear about what's going on and maybe even get in touch with your own Humanities Council if you have time. So today, this is really Sam's suggestion as well as multiple people, but I'm going to be playing the game Firewatch on stream while chatting with Sam about the work that he does and his colleagues do over at Indiana Humanities. So for those of you who haven't heard of it, Firewatch is an indie adventure game that came out all the way back in 2016, 7 years ago. It's hard to believe that. And it's won multiple awards, including Best Narrative, Best Debut Game, and Best 3D Visual Experience. And so I actually never played it when it first came out. But like I said, I had multiple friends recommend this to me, and I watched a little bit of them playing it. And then, Sam, you've played it at least once, right? Have you played it more than once?
I don't think so. When you said all the way back in 2016, 2017, one, that made me feel like slightly older than I realized I am. But two, I ironically do not have a lot of like strong associations with nature playing with this game, even though it's based in like a national park. But I actually first played this game when my now wife, then girlfriend, lived in Chicago. So I remember driving up to Chicago and having a day off and like needing something to do and playing this game in a Chicago apartment while you hear like the train going behind me and all of the traffic and everything like that. So it's very funny to like be reflecting on where I am now compared to then. And yeah, so I'm very excited to get to go back through this game with you. It's a good time.
Yeah, yeah, I'm super excited. It looks like we have some other fans of this game in our audience as well. So for today's stream, we're going to be doing a little bit something different than usual. Usually when we play games on stream with our guests, we'll just either play the whole game all the way through if it's an hour or less, or we'll just start, and see how far we can get in an hour. With today's game, even though it's fairly short, I think you can beat it in about 5 hours. We're just going to do the first part, which is where we learn more about our protagonist and we get to shape his backstory based on some decisions we get to make. And I'll ask Sam about his thoughts, and we'll make those decisions together. And then we're going to actually skip to day 2. So we're going to skip day 1, and we're going to load a save file for day 2 because that's where we have a little bit more freedom. And I thought it'd be fun to walk around this forest while chatting with Sam about the work he does with Indiana Humanities. So we'll play about an hour of Firewatch. We'll take a 5-minute break, which is when everyone here can go stretch, get some water, stand up, do what you need to do. And then we'll reconvene for a one-on-one chat with Sam afterwards. So let's get ready to go. Friends in chat, make sure that you are hydrated, that you are comfy, and I'm going to get the game up. And welcome in, Lomi. Thank you so much for being here. All right, Sam, just making sure that you can see and hear this game.
I can. Let's do it.
All right, so we are going to start a new game, like I said, just to get to know our protagonist, and then I will load a save state for day 2. We have looks like we have some friends of yours in the audience. This is great.
Hey, Waves. Hope you're doing well.
Okay. Firewatch. Let us know in chat if you have heard of this game or played it before. It's always very fun to see who else has experienced this or is just encountering it for the first time. Boulder, Colorado, 1975. You see Julia. This is so relatable. I'll read this out loud. She's about your age, late 20s, laughing with well-dressed professors and grad students from nearby CU Boulder. You, Henry, are out drinking with your pals. Okay, we get to approach Julie. We just have one choice at the moment, but
She sounds like a nice lady.
She does. And yeah, having recently left academia, I can picture this like exact moment in my head. You are drunk. Okay, so we get to ask either, so what's your, major, or you're pretty. What do you think, Sam?
Let's go with a major.
Okay.
Because we were just talking about you being in academia.
Yes.
What was your major when you were in academia, or what was your study?
Yeah, I studied psychology when I was an undergrad at U Chicago, and then for my master's and my PhD exams, I was at IU in Indiana, Bloomington for ethnomusicology. So it's a very fun connection.
Very cool. I've heard a whole lot of good things about that program,
Yeah.
so I'm glad that you had a good time.
You slur the word major, and it smells like Coors. You give an awkward smile. Evolutionary biology, she says, and I'm a professor. Cool, you reply. What's yours? She asks. She sniffs the air. Toxicology? Ouch. Also, fun fact, did you know, Sam, I just learned this recently. Golden, Colorado is the home of, I think I'm going to say it's the world's largest or the world's oldest single on-site brewing facility in the world. And this is for Coors. And I know this because I was driving by it and I saw this like massive like beer can. I was like, is that a beer can? And then I realized it was you can take a tour at the brewery there. So very cool. Still there today.
Awesome. I'll have to go out and try it sometime. I love trying to find like the latest local brewery and seeing what people have, both like engagement wise, but also drink and food wise. So very cool. Good one to know about.
Was that a burn, you ask? She says, definitely. Worried she hurt your feelings, she asks you if you want to split a cheeseburger. 1 week later, you are Julia's boyfriend.
Thanks.
Grand Admiral Thrawn says, that's not like academia to me. Most grad schools I know are into IPAs. I'm not an IPA fan, but still snobby enough not to drink Coors. Oof. Thank you for sharing.
I feel like that's where I tend to end up in like the lager things.
We're in this elevator. Oh. And look around a bit.
I do feel like this game is, we were talking about this before we started, but like unintentionally, sometimes it's intentionally spooky, but that's maybe once or twice. But there's moments like this where you're in like a dark garage and you're like, oh my gosh.
You date for over a year. She drives you absolutely nuts. It's great. Split a cheeseburger is also never something I heard in grad school. Oh no. You move in. You share an apartment near the school with a view of the mountains. You two drink beers out on the deck. You drink beer just about anywhere. Life is good. Julia wants to get a dog. There's a scruffy, undersized beagle. Julia's in love. She wants to bring it with her to class. There's also an intimidating but gentle-eyed German shepherd. Nothing bad could happen to Julia while walking this dog. It's badass. Okay, so we have a choice. We can either pick up the beagle, who she has named Bucket, or adopt the shepherd and name him Mayhem.
I am so torn. Both of these dogs sound very adorable. I also completely forgot this was part of the game, so when you told me earlier we had to choose between Bucket and Mayhem, I was really concerned, and I love the fact that it was just choosing between these two dogs. Do you have a preference?
Oh gosh. Okay, well, it looks like chat really wants us to pick Bucket the Beagle. So I think we have at least 2 or 3 votes. So I think we might have to go for that.
I am down for Bucket the Beagle. I am a big dog person, but my wife won the conversation, and Harley is a smaller dog, so I'm down for Bucket.
What kind of dog do you have?
So Harley's a Corgi Terrier mix, and she's very cute for numerous reasons, but that also means she got like the stubbornness of a Corgi and the stubbornness of a Terrier. So she's very scruffy and very cute, and a little bit of a Tasmanian devil.
Love it. Bucket's a good dog. Every dog is a good dog.
I mean, they are all good dogs.
And a week later, you've totally forgotten about the other one. Julia loves him. You love him too.
Oh.
1979. You talk out on a deck. It's summer, 9:30 p.m., and the heat still radiates off of the high desert. What do you think about kids? She asks. Kids? They're not very smart. We're good at much. I'm saying if you and I have some, a couple little idiots. Okay, so we can choose between that would be pretty good or one day, why rush?
I'm open to either. Does chat have a preference, or do you have a preference?
Yeah, let's think about this and give chat a time, or like the time to respond. This is a hard question, I think, right? Like anytime you think about having kids, it's a life-changing. It's just like adopting a dog. Like I always thought I was a cat person, even though I'm allergic to cats. I hadn't interacted with many dogs, and then I adopted my dog together with my boyfriend in January 2020, and now I guess I'm forever more a dog person.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a chonky Shiba Inu.
Oh.
a black and tan Shiba Inu.
Very cute. I love it.
Okay, Grand Admiral Thrawn says, my attitude towards kids is firmly in a Dr. Alan Grant POV. Oh no.
We love a good Jurassic Park reference.
Yes.
Let's go with One Day White Rush and see what happens.
I'll slow down. She looks away, out towards the mountains. You have plenty of time, right? Speak for yourself, mister. Don't worry, you assure her. You tell her she has the body of an undergrad. I don't know what that means. That's a little, my ovaries didn't get the memo, she says, laughing it off. One day, okay. Okay, one day, she says. 6 months later, you get engaged lying in bed on a Sunday morning. I know, you.
Some choices were made here.
Yes. Okay, well, we are in a naturey area. I'm just gonna... Well, I know the game doesn't want me to go this way, but I have to.
I know, like, I don't think you can break the game at this point. Just go explore wherever, but it would be pretty fun if you could just, like, abandon the whole thing.
You're right. Just, yeah, run off into the wilderness. So, I love, well, first of all, the environment and the sounds. I'm not sure if chat can hear it. Hopefully you have your either headphones in or the sound up. But not just the music. You can hear bird sounds and other, like, naturey sounds, and it's really wonderful. And wow, fire hazard today.
Good to know, good to know. We've just talked about how beautiful it's going to be, but then it's also a fire hazard.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember... No, go ahead. when
I was just gonna say that like I chose this game because like I was very excited about how like the environment like connects to my work and everything like this, but I forgot about all of this like this textual like commentary going on the whole time. I was like, oh, that works for like a humanities stream that we're talking and like reading and writing and all that kind of good stuff too.
Yeah, I like that we can take our time. It's not as far as I know, reaction based yet, which is good. Waves on Mars. And luckily they're already together because he's bad at flirting.
Yeah, this guy is not, I would say, not the most high ground like moral protagonist, but he has some things to learn as the game goes on.
I like that the developers of this game, or whoever came up with the graphics, took the time to create all of these like very realistic flyers with all this text. So I'm like zooming in and it's a little bit blurry, but you can still see
very
it.
Cool.
Yeah.
You can tell like they went out and like visited like a national park and all the things that go with it, because these are things you feel like you'd see there.
I was gonna say that just being dropped into this landscape, I used to substitute teach in Brown County when I was living in Bloomington, so I would take that drive from Bloomington, and it was so beautiful, and just seeing these big trees suddenly reminded me of just driving over the hills and through the forests on the way there.
Brown County and in particular Nashville, Indiana, like kind of dropped right in there as one of my favorite parts of the state, so very glad that we have that experience in common.
Yes. It's 1980. It's a Thursday night, and Julia is 4 hours late. She doesn't call. You're worried and getting angrier by the minute. She walks in after you've gone to bed. She's not quite drunk, but she's clearly been having a fun time. You fight when she gets between the sheets. We can either get mad or ignore her, which I think is also a version of getting mad.
I would say either of these is not like great options. I would not call these like top tier communication skills in a relationship.
Yeah, definitely not. I'll take the less aggressive but still mad option of ignoring her, I think.
The Midwestern passive aggressive move.
Ope.
Nice.
Ope.
Yeah, ope indeed.
You don't touch each other all night. The next day you feel guilty for being so angry and ask her about her evening. She says it was great. You hold on to a tiny pill of resentment. You make some coffee and go to work. Get mad by ignoring her. Yes. 1981. Julia still likes to draw. She draws plants from her research. She draws all the places you go. She draws you. Okay, we have a choice to pose and flex like He-Man or frolic like a Victoria's Secret model. I like this is very referential to the 80s with He-Man.
Big time 80s. Up to you. Which one do you want to do?
I think, again, I have not played this game all the way through. I think previously I chose He-Man, so I want to see what happens if we choose Victoria's Secret model.
Frolic.
I'm curious. Okay, we're gonna frolic. Very nice. Thank you, game.
Very supportive.
Yes.
Oh, I would have fallen so hard on my face if I'd done that jump.
Yeah. I'm just going to take some time to look at our surroundings again. I was thinking about how, and I wonder if they intended this, like if it's an intentional design choice, but I'm really reminded of the posters that you see for national parks. It's like that, it's WPA. I forgot. It's like Works Public.
WPA.
Yeah.
It feels very like WPA art. I haven't read any interviews with the Campo Santo devs who put this together, but it feels like very intentional. Like even like the loading screen for the game felt like one of those, and yeah, it's a really nice touch that they do for this.
Just like the way, like the colors, and then the way that certain things are just like shaded or blocked off. It just really makes me think of like this could be a poster like right here. Just like crop it. There we go.
Yeah, and like it's a really intriguing like art design, but it's also engaging with like the history of the national parks, right? So like it fleshes out the experience, but in more than one way, and I think that was really a genius move on their part.
Mm-hmm. This is very peaceful too. I know that of course the two of us are talking right now. I feel like if I were playing a solo game, I would just like quietly just sit here and just like happily stare. Not move.
But it does bring up an interesting point about like when you're on a trail, are you a big like I'm gonna like talk the whole time when I'm hiking, or are you a big like you want to be in silence and like kind of stop and look around, or are you like a talker and keep moving on?
That's a good question, right? It's like, are you the kind of person who talks during TV shows and movies? That I feel like that's almost like the equivalent. It depends on who I'm with, I think. I think that if I've been there before, I think I would be more inclined to talk. But also if there's a lot of people nearby, I don't know. If I feel like it's a quiet place, I probably wouldn't talk just to keep the stillness. But if I'm with a friend, I might lightly talk with them.
Yeah, for me it's like it's kind of like depends on the group I'm with, because like I'm all about like being a completionist and knocking something off my task list. So I'm like, okay, I got to get this hike done, like one more mile to go. But like with the work I'll be talking about later, it's very much about slowing down and talking and soaking in your scenery. So yeah, I can be convinced to go either way.
That's a great question. No, thank you for asking. And yeah, I'd be curious for other people in chat, like share what kind of hiker or walker or even like movie watcher you are. Okay, so it's 1982. During the summers, you and Julia enjoy walking Bucket at night. There's a
Good old
festival in
Bucket.
town. It brings in folks from faraway places. Oh no, one of them tries to mug you with a knife.
This escalated very quickly.
It did, yeah. And welcome in, the Geech. Hello. They say, I'm the person with a guidebook, both slowing the group down by IDing plants and also running ahead because excited about plants. Love it.
Love that.
Oh no, Bucket gets kicked. Julia gets flustered and she has trouble speaking when she's stressed. You confront the attacker. Okay, we can either scare the attacker or we can punch them. This is so sad.
This is very sad. Also, I feel like we're in like a Mass Effect game where we have to go like Paragon versus not. Like, are we going to be pacifist or not here?
Yeah, I know. Some people want us to beat them. I think this is hard, right? Because I think violence is like, I think scaring away doesn't say how we scare them away. I'm gonna say we scare him away instead of.
Okay, we're gonna go Paragon. Thank you.
Yeah.
Somebody called out it was Renegade was the other one.
Oh. You reach into your pocket like you've got a gun and threaten to kill him. Oh my goodness. You manage to scare all three of you. He runs away. Julia asks to take a different path from that day forward. You say okay. You don't want to go that way either. From then on, you walk by the river. I'm glad it sounds like Bucket's okay, even though he got kicked.
Yes.
1984. Plans to have kids get waylaid by work. And I have not played Mass Effect, so I'm wondering, maybe I feel like so many people have brought it up. I might have to give that a try sometime.
I think like once you get through the introductory area, there's plenty of places you can go and just kind of explore, whether that's out in space or in one of the hub worlds. So you could get to what we're leading up to here with Firewatch, where you can just go and kind of explore the area for a while. And I think you could still get some good conversation in.
Mm-hmm. Julia gets offered a job at Yale. Yale's in Connecticut, 2,000 miles away. It's a great job, associate department chair. She wants to move. You absolutely do not. Oh no. So we can either convince her not to take the job, or we can agree if she commutes back and forth. And yeah, this is, again, it's very relatable. I have married friends who are in academia where they would have to live in separate countries. One might be in Scotland,
Yeah.
The other might be in the US, one might be in Pakistan while the other was in Peru. So it's really difficult.
I don't know if I love, like signifying that this is not the most moral high ground protagonist, that both of these are like, you either tell your partner to not do the thing or like tell them they can do it, but with like baggage attached to it. Like, not the most supportive person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to go with agree, or do you just want to like tank the academic marriage right now?
I think I'll, take right. It's like, the lesser of two evils. Also some very fun conversation happening in chat. I feel like I can't control her life. I don't think it's my right to tell her not to take it if she really wants to. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell her.
We're agreeing.
Let's see if we can make a long distance relationship work.
Heck yeah.
You ask if she'll commute back and forth. You don't want to move to Connecticut. She says that'll be hard, but she'll do it if you won't move. You tell her not to pass it up if that's what she wants. She agrees. She flies back to Boulder 3 times each semester.
Oh my god, I forgot that we're in Colorado right now. Oof.
Oh, okay. 1985. Julia is sent home from Yale on paid leave after having an episode. She lost out on a colleague for borrowing books that were important to her research. She didn't remember she had happily loaned them to him just 2 days prior. She was found crying in a stairwell. So we can say, you say that maybe you guys should talk to someone about it, or you make macaroni and drink wine and try to forget about it. I know this is very sad. Very, very real. I think this does a great job. As difficult as it is, I think it does a great job fleshing out, the difficult decisions we make in life, and also letting us get to know the protagonist in this way. I feel like we are more, we're literally stepping into his shoes and making these hard choices.
Yeah, and it does a good job of referencing hard life decisions without being like, there's a clear-cut answer here, because even like the one where you should talk with someone about it and get her some help is still like a maybe, right?
Yeah.
And life is never like black and white, absolute.
I think we should talk to someone. Yeah, I'm a fan of.
We should talk to someone.
Yeah.
I do like macaroni, but I think we should talk to someone about it right now.
I wish choice was you make macaroni, drink wine, and then talk to someone the next day.
That is the best of both worlds, honestly.
Yeah. After seeing multiple doctors and having many tests, they are worried that Julia might be suffering from early onset dementia. She is 41. You both decide to keep it a secret for now. That's really difficult. I've talked to some friends recently who shared, they had a parent who might have had dementia or Alzheimer's. And again, like this game hits you in all the feels.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Sam, this is a little bit of a random question, but do you consider yourself to have good eyes?
No, I do not. I do right now because I have contacts in. But no, when the contacts aren't in, it's a recipe for disaster. What about you?
Yeah, I think I have horrible eyes as well. But I guess the reason I'm asking is because I'm looking up the stars, and all my life I thought I had bad eyes, which I do. But I thought because of that, I wasn't able to see the Milky Way or just like stars at night. And it turns out that, well, I guess Chicago is a horrible place. A lot of light pollution. I think,
yes.
As an undergrad, I just remember the Chicago sky was just orange, just like orange all the time. But the first time I saw the Milky Way as an adult, it was just amazing, and I realized, it wasn't me. It was just the fault of like air pollution and yeah.
Oh my God. I know like everybody has that experience when they get out, like where there's much less light and have light pollution. I've never heard of somebody like associating it with like, and it makes sense. Like very reasonable thing to assume, but that is very funny.
That's so cute. The Geach. Okay, so we went to college together, just disclaimer. Not me and Sam, but me and the Geach. So do you not remember the orange skies? I remember calling them porange because they were pink and orange. So I'd call them the porange skies of Chicago.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Some of those, as Waves is talking about, there's some of those turnoffs out west where it's like you're in a national park a little later at night and you're just like, it could be so cold out, but your jaw's just kind of like dropped while you're like sitting and watching all of it.
Oh, Waves on Mars says a random turnoff while driving through Nevada was the most amazing view of the sky. Oh, that's wonderful. So you were in Nevada recently, or was this just a few years ago? Share where this amazing view was. I would love to know. Bucket is getting older. Oh, Julia comments that it's kind of nice because he gets in less trouble around the house. A week later, she goes back to the university.
Not Bucket.
1987. Julia's affliction gets worse. She can't remember things in class. Her research is in shambles. She drives her car to the next town over for no particular reason and has to be brought home by the police. She is devastated. She is sent home on permanent medical leave. Some days you get the Julia who calls you a dope and your unborn children little idiots. Other days you get a stranger. She pulls you into bed to make love. After 5 minutes, she goes into a panic, believing her dad is at the door. You tell her family. They are crushed. They begin to make trips to and from their home in Australia to visit her. For a while, your friends come by with little friends to brighten the day. She gets worse. 1988. You spend your days following Julia around the house. You count the seconds between the 2 weekly visits from Daniel, the nurse. He suggests that Julia could live somewhere else, somewhere with 24-hour care, a home. It sits with you for a couple months. So we can either move Julia into a full-time care facility, or we can try to take care of her all by ourselves. This is hard.
Who chose this game, Kathleen? Certainly wasn't me.
Of course not. It must have been some other Sam from Indiana Humanities.
I am open to either choice. Which one do you want to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I am so sorry, the Geech. I did not expect to be emotionally crushed at lunch. I apologize.
Yeah, I do also prefer the Mass Effect choices as well. Let's say full-time care facility. Let's get her some support that she needs.
Okay. And Waves on Mars says it was 5 plus years ago when you were visiting with family.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, something I appreciate, we've just made this like soul-crushing decision, really emotional, and then I think immediately they drop us into this forest, and I just feel it's really interesting, just like psychologically, just like so much better and lighter. It's like I just had to do this difficult thing, but now we're in nature and we're in the open, and it's really nice, and I feel less like crying.
I'm trying to remember if the story always goes this way, no matter which options you choose or not. I don't remember because I don't think I made exactly these same choices the last time I played, and I'll have to look it up later. But I'm curious if anybody that's watching right now has done this before, if they remember if it always goes this direction.
Yeah, because I imagine that some of this must be like flavor text that shows up later, but I don't know if others make more like permanent, like branching, like decisions.
This is very much going back to what you were saying, like a nice visual cleanse, which is one of the reasons I like being outside, and one of the reasons I like doing this work is there's the visual. I'm a visual learner, so like visual stuff like this helps like just kind of do a mental detox.
Yeah, I'm gonna give all of us. I'm just gonna slowly look around. Do you remember, Sam, at I think probably the first year, maybe the second year of the pandemic, I think there was sort of this resurgence of articles about going outside and like, just going into nature if you can, and especially I don't remember the term for it, but the Japanese call it forest bathing. And I think about that a lot. I feel like right now we are forest bathing for our soul.
Yes. I feel it here, but like I feel it with work all the time, and I get as everybody does with their job, like you get busy prepping for an event or prepping for a project or something like that, and then you get there, and I feel very fortunate that my getting there is like you get that visual detox of okay, I've made it out to some beautiful landscape.
Oh, I think there was a big elk that ran away and I missed it. Oh no. Her family agrees with your decision. You find a fantastic place in Boulder and move her there. You see her every day, then every other day. You go out to the bar with your old friends. It's not the same. You get the feeling that every wife tells her husband, oh no, if you ever put me in a home like Henry did, I will cut your balls off. So this is, again, directly tied to the decision we made earlier. So I wonder what would have happened if we had chosen to take care of her full-time ourselves. I wonder how that would have affected this conversation branch. You slowly decide to not see your old friends that much. And Tannhauser writes, communication limited by the technology of the time plays a part in this game. Yeah, yes. So in the 80s, right? So I'm just imagining, right, when she had to take that job in Yale, like I've been in several long distance relationships, over the course of my life. And I just remember like, we have the internet. We can just like email each other or instant message or, call over the phone. But like how'd you do it in the 80s?
Yeah.
Julia's sister, Susan, moves to Boulder to be close to her. She visits her every day. You go with her some of the time. Susan buys you an old typewriter and urges you to use it if you won't see a therapist. You won't. You've always really liked Susan. Months go by. Bucket dies. Oh no. Julia doesn't remember him when you tell her. Sometimes it takes her a minute to lock in on you. In the back of your mind, you believe it's because you see her less and less, and seeing her less and less makes her forget you more, you think. Summer is coming, and you see an ad in the paper for a job. You take it. Okay.
We've made it.
Yeah. That was an emotional ride. What an introduction to a game. Okay, so Sam, this is where I'm going to load the next save state, which takes us to day 2. But I think for people who haven't played this before, and maybe you can chime in on this as well, since you've played the entire game. and in case I'm missing anything. So day one is
Sure.
where we go up to the lookout tower and we sort of get acquainted with the person on the other side of the walkie-talkie named Delilah. Um, and we just chat with her, and then we investigate some fireworks, and then the day ends after a little bit of vandalism. That's kind of me glossing over. There are some other
Yeah.
things that happen, but
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I think you've done a good job of that. I think the game is very good about balancing the protagonist's relationship with Delilah as they get to start venting about where their life is and how they've gotten there. Meanwhile, they start solving problems around the park, and that leads to a nice little mystery and a good time all the same.
Yeah. Okay, so we are now day two. We have skipped day one. So for people who have never played this, if you do play it, there are events between what just happened and where I am now. So I'm gonna walkie-talkie and tell Delilah.
Awake. What's your problem?
Our problem.
Sorry, our problem.
That storm knocked out the phone line I used to talk to the service, which means we're cut off. I tried radioing out, and that's not working either.
Okay.
I don't really know why that would be the case.
Say, can I go fix it?
Well, you probably can't, but what you can do is hike out to where the wire runs through your area and report back if it's down. Then I can track down a ranger to get someone on it.
Okay, so I know the game audio is quiet. I think this is, actually we can turn it up just a little louder. I'll turn up voice and sounds.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I wish there were, oh, there are subtitles. Okay, I'm gonna display subtitles.
Okay, I can
There
do
we
that.
go.
Where is it?
Remember that cave you hiked through yesterday?
Yeah, of course.
So you're gonna want to go back there, go through it, and keep going straight to the north when you come out.
Will do.
Thanks.
Will do. She calls me Hank.
It's Henry.
Yeah,
What,
it's
you don't like Hank?
Yeah, I don't like it.
But thanks rhymes with Hank.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, all right.
Okay. I'm just gonna look at these posters because I just love the details that I think it's worth appreciating the work that people put into, little things like this in games.
Yeah, a lot of craft goes into it.
Yeah.
While you're looking at the poster, one thing that caught my eye that I didn't catch the last time I played this game was the mountain range around seems to be kind of an amalgamation of different national parks. So I saw it looked like Half Dome back behind you, maybe a
Oh,
little
really?
bit from Yosemite, but
Wait, tell me where. I'll
least,
pause.
go to the right.
Right?
Keep going. Yeah, right there. That's not Half Dome from Yosemite, but El Capitan is what it looks like, but maybe a mirrored version. Somebody in the chat should correct me if I'm wrong, but at least it seems to be an homage. Well, it says we're in Wyoming. So
I think we are Wyoming. I think we start the game in Boulder/Colorado, and now I think we end up taking this job in Wyoming. I think.
Okay, so we're in Wyoming somewhere. I don't see Devil's Tower anywhere right now, but
I've been to Devil's Tower.
it's really cool.
Yeah, I think I was there in 2012 with my family. We sort of we road tripped from Illinois to Montana and stopped at all these parks along the way.
I want to say I was there with family in mid-2010s, but yeah, there's a lot going on around Devil's Tower as well.
Yeah.
I love visiting out there. Mount Rushmore's on the way.
Oh,
perfect. Books for a humanities stream. Let's go.
The Birds of Wyoming. Are these real books, or are these fake books that were created for the game? I actually don't know.
George Sinclair is a name I recognize.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if someone in chat wants to look this up. Is this a real book? Is there a George Sinclair who wrote a book called The Birds of Wyoming? I would like to know this. And
I do love that he just chucks things every time.
Yeah, I just.
Oh, hello.
All right, Oh, Space Puffs, love it. Very 80s, I think. This is also very nostalgic. Okay, let's get going. Oh, I love how as soon as we open a door, just this rush of wind just came in. Okay, so we have a map. Survey communication lines north of the canyon. So we're not going to, just for the sake of time today in today's stream, we aren't going to do a lot of story. I think we'll just wander around and just look at our surroundings and see what happens. So I'll just vaguely wander north, but who knows? Maybe I'll go
Let's
south
do it.
or west. Well, are you good with heights, Sam, or are you scared of heights?
This is a good question. If I'm on something like a roller coaster that's going up and down really fast, no. Or I'm fine with heights. It's when I have to like stay there for a long time that I start to get a little like not necessarily woozy, but like it's like in the movies and TV shows where like that like zooms in really far on something down below you, and you're like the music comes in and has that like intense music, and I'm like, all right, I need to go down now. But more or less, I'm usually able to rise above it because it's worth it for the pretty view.
Yeah. Okay, so we have an author or a comment in chat. So Tan says, Googling George Sinclair, The Birds of Wyoming brings up only things from this game. So I think it was just created for.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Well,
I think I'm thinking of Upton Sinclair, who wrote The Jungle. Very different book.
Well, given like Chat GPT and all that, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe someday there will be, maybe someone will get, a fake AI George Sinclair to write about the birds of Wyoming. Okay. This is very peaceful. So Sam, have you been all over Indiana at this point for your job, do you feel like? Or like where?
This is a good question that I was thinking about the other day was what are my blind spots so far for like somebody that works for a statewide organization? Ooh.
It's pretty damn cold out here.
Roger that. Warms up fast. The mornings are cold in Boulder, though, right?
Yeah, they are.
What did you get up to down there? I mean, what's life like?
Oh, Hank.
I'm
gonna cry if we talk about Bucket.
I kind of want to talk about Bucket. I think Julia's
If
too.
I start crying, it's fine. It's for the good of the stream.
Used to just spend a lot of time with our dog, Bucket.
Aw, that's a good name.
He was a good dog.
What type?
A beagle. We got him from the pound.
That's great. Hey, can you hold on a sec?
Sure. Just gonna keep hiking and hoping it warms up.
Heyo. I don't think so. Why, have you? Okay, good.
I'm going to ignore Delilah for a bit.
No, I don't think there's any
Okay, sounds good.
So that way you can, get back.
Well, no, it was good. They vamped for a little bit, and even though they vamped, I still don't quite have a great idea. So I will say that, like, I feel like I've gotten to go to each pocket of the state at this point so far. So, like, down into, like, southwest, southeast, northeast, northwest, doing a lot of things in central Indiana. Yeah, I feel like I've been very lucky to get to explore as much as I have already in the, like, going on 2 years that I've been on this job. So, yeah. What about you in Nevada?
Yeah, it was funny, right? Because I started my job in April 2020 and I worked remotely, and I still work remote. And so I was based in Las Vegas and I never got to go to Reno until 2021, which is where our other office. We have two offices. We have one in Reno and one in Vegas.
Oh, cool.
And recently, I got to travel a lot more across the state. So the Nevada Arts Council hosted the Basin to Range Exchange, which is sort of, I guess they bring together artists, community leaders, arts and culture stakeholders, et cetera, from all over the state just to meet each other and network. And it was really great. And it was held in Ely, Nevada, which is about, I want to say 4 hours north of Vegas and maybe 5.5 hours east of Reno. This is me kind of making this up.
Terrain that probably looks similar to this, I would maybe hazard a guess.
On the way from Reno, yes, I think, because Reno is of course, the northern part of the state, so more mountainy, more green. And from Vegas to Ely. So I was fortunate to do the drive both ways. So I drove from Reno to Ely with my boss, Christina, our executive director. And on the way back, I got to drive back to Ely to Las Vegas with a librarian friend of mine.
Very cool.
So, of course, that drive was a lot hotter and more mountainy as we got closer to Vegas. But I guess I've gotten to see a lot more of the state recently, but there's still a ton I have not been able to get to see. I'm currently working on an itinerary for an author who's visiting this week, and I'm a little bit jealous because I'm sending her to places that I've never been to, and I wish I
Oh,
could
no
be there
way.
with her. So,
We have 92 counties in Indiana. My coworkers will be happy in the other rooms to hear that I've got that number down finally. And I need to at some point like pull up like a map or a checklist and like check off each of the counties that I've been to or stayed in and all that good stuff to see how far away I am, because I know my count has gone exponentially up since I started this job, but I actually don't know off the top of my head how many I've seen now at this point.
you said, so you're born in Indianapolis, right?
Yes.
Or was it like
Yes.
Indianapolis, or like a suburb of Indianapolis?
Suburb of Indianapolis, although like my address growing up was still in Indianapolis technically.
Okay.
But no, it wasn't like downtown. So I grew up on the south side of Indianapolis, and spent like all my life there up until college, and then I went to Purdue for 4 years, and then came back home to Indy and went to IUPUI for a couple of years, and now I am living in Indianapolis again, but on the north side, which is very feels very different to me than living on the south side, but it's still just as nice.
Yeah, I was curious because I tell people, I'm from Chicago, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
I went to school there, but I was actually born in a suburb. I was born in DeKalb, Illinois.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
And then when I was in the summers between third and fourth grade, we moved to Geneva, Illinois, which is about a 40-minute train ride from Chicago.
Beautiful.
And I'm so used to people. I'm glad you know Geneva, because when I say Geneva, a lot of people from the Midwest or other parts will be like Geneva, like Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, or Geneva, Switzerland. And yeah, the answer is neither. Geneva, Illinois.
No, Alicia and I, when she lived in Chicago, we went on like a weekend trip out to Geneva and explored and everything. It's the Nashville, Indiana, down in Brown County is very, very similar to Geneva, Indiana. Yeah, I love that place.
I was looking at the map and I went totally the wrong way. I mean, there is no right or wrong way, but I was thinking about how we're supposed to go north, and I inadvertently just like took us south.
Very south. That's fine. We can make it to the lake, I bet.
Yeah.
Try to go to the lake.
Yeah, let's see. Maybe we can cut through a mountain, or we'll just take the long way around. But either way,
let's do it.
I feel like I'm not. I need to like read more of my classics. I wonder if there's like a good like Walden or Thoreau or even like Frost poem about like what we're experiencing right now. Like I'm just thinking about meandering through the woods.
I'm mad at myself because so much of my work involves like doing a hike out in the woods that like it would make sense to like read a poem out in the woods like we do for work right now. I can probably find one if you want to do a poem real fast though.
Yeah, if you'd like to, while I'm happy to read chat and also continue our trek. Waves on Mars says the U.S. loves naming towns after national places, like my hometown, Warsaw. Oh, and yeah. Isn't there a place in Indiana? I think I remember this from college when I was at UChicago. I think I had a friend who was from Indiana, and he said there is a place called not Versailles, but you pronounce it Versailles.
Versailles.
Yes, Versailles, Indiana.
As soon as you started, I was like, it's going to be Versailles.
Versailles, and I think there's also a Paris, maybe. Paris, Indiana?
Yep, there's a Paris, Indiana. There's a Peru, Indiana. I'm going to blank there, but I'm sure there's more that I can think of off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. Versailles, yep. Cairo, Illinois, yep.
Edinburgh is pronounced
Cairo.
Edinburgh. There's a big outlet mall there. All right, I've got a few poems here. Do you want to do a poem right now?
Yeah, would you like to do a poem while I will just walk through the woods?
Sure. And we can talk more about why we're doing that when we come back for the Q&A. I'm going to do one from Robin Wall-Kimmerer. It's an excerpt from her book, Braiding Sweetgrass. She writes, "How in our modern world can we find our way to understand the earth as a gift again, to make our relations with the world sacred again? I know we cannot all become hunter-gatherers. The living world cannot bear our weight. But even in a market economy, can we behave as if the living world were a gift? There are those who will try to sell the gifts. Don't buy it. Refusal to participate is a moral choice. Water is a gift for all, not meant to be bought and sold. Don't buy it. When food has been wrenched from the earth, depleting the soil and poisoning our relatives in the name of higher yields, don't buy it. We need acts of restoration, not only for polluted waters and degraded lands, but also for our relationship to the world. We need to restore honor to the way we live, so that when we walk through the world, we don't have to avert our eyes with shame, so that we can hold our heads up high and receive the respectful acknowledgement of the rest of the Earth's beings. Yeah, so Robin Wall Kimmer is a writer that we're going to be working with later this year, and she's going to come here to Indiana. She's deservedly so, like, kind of blowing up on a more national scale. And so we're going to be talking about her with her book Breeding Sweetgrass here in Indianapolis later this year. I'm very excited for it.
That is super exciting. Is that before or after the National Humanities Conference?
That is before the National Humanities Conference. I just wrote down on my calendar over here. She's going to be here in the middle of July, and we're going to have her at our Eiteljorg Museum, which is a museum of art from the American West, and more specifically from Native American, representing Native American artists and Native American culture and Native American, history.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm really excited to have her out here and talk more about her work in a museum that I really, really love too.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And also, Potawatomi represent. Thank you for sharing that as well. You know, I am ashamed to say I remember driving by and even maybe walking by the Eiteljorg Museum, and I don't think I ever went in, but it's like, I just remember it's like very like flat, right? It's like long and like, is that the right one?
Yeah, so Eiteljorg and the State Museum are like neighbors too, so it's this long, really long stretch of museum, kind of like going along one of the edges of the White River, right before White River State Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always thought it was interesting too, like the zoo is like right around there as well.
Yep, the zoo is just keep going around the corner, so there's like a big kind of cultural campus is maybe the better way to describe like everything that's kind of dotted along the White River right there. But yeah, good people in all those places.
Because I went to school in Bloomington, I feel like I didn't spend as much time in Indianapolis. When I went to Indianapolis, it was mostly, this is just because it's me. I would go to One World Market, which is a great Japanese little like grocery, and you can get food there. But I like to do my sushi fish shopping. So I would drive like an hour to Indianapolis just to get sushi fish and bring it back to Bloomington.
It's like, I'm sure this is the same for anywhere in the world, but the hunt for like a great sushi place is both an arduous one and like a well-earned one once you find that great sushi.
Yeah. If you like sushi, yes.
Backing up just slightly, when we were walking through that gray mist just now, I had like big Dark Souls vibes. So, like there's that like gray mist curtain we walked through.
Yeah.
Which would have been quite the shocker if that's what this game became out of nowhere.
I am a scaredy cat. I jump scare very easily, so I'm glad that nothing has jumped out.
I apologize then. We're not about to hop onto one or anything like that, but definitely if you wind up playing this game later, there's not like jump scares so much as just like a few suspenseful moments.
Yeah, like a little bit atmospheric. I can see that. This is very pretty. Yes. I love how I've just suddenly stumbled upon this
That's my favorite part of going hiking, especially in like a national park setting, but really state park, city park, anywhere, is when you turn that corner and all of a sudden there's a vista and you're like, how did this get here? Like, how did I stumble upon this? I knew it was going to be here because I have a map, but still, like, how did I do this? Yeah.
Yeah. Still, of course, going the wrong direction. I just sort of gave up on my compass. We are south. I went more south instead of north.
That's fine.
Which is fine, yeah. So we're at the Ruby River.
Ooh, there's a cache across the river.
There is, yeah.
I don't even know. What are the caches having in this game?
Anything. I think I've opened 2 previously. I think the first one, when you first start, has the rope that you need to get down the hill. Oh, Delilah. Hello.
When it comes to, how the hell you
Or you could say, hey there, Delilah. Okay, I'll see myself out now. It's nice talking to you all.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. It's like right there.
Okay, we'll open this up and see what's inside. Sorry, Delilah. We are...
Do we have a key?
The password is 1234.
Of course.
I think early on we ask her. Yeah. For all of them. Okay, so this one has a map. Great. We can copy the information.
Cool.
We'll do that on our own map. And then a copy of
Jane Eyre's here.
Jane Eyre. Wait, so that is a real book. This is not a book created for the
so
game.
there are some like real books hanging out here.
Yeah. What's this one?
I had to read Jane Eyre in high school.
Oh, just threw it in the box. Old toilet paper.
Old toilet paper.
Yeah.
And pine cone.
Yeah. I think there have been like pine cones and all the other ones as well. Okay.
I'm trying to remember if like you collect the pine cones or something later in the game. I forgot how that goes.
Yeah, like right now.
You can't really keep it. Right click to copy paste the pine cone.
I know that, so although we didn't do day one, you are given the option to, like, we come across like a bunch of like beer cans and a fire that's still kind of simmering away. So we have the option to interact with the beer can and clean it up or stomp out the campfire, which was very nice. Okay, I wonder if we can keep crossing.
Let's do it.
Okay, we'll go a little bit further and then we can cut to the next part of our stream. Although, you know what? So originally, I'm thinking out loud right now. Sam, I was thinking, usually for our first time viewers or I guess guests, after an hour of gameplay, we take our break. It cuts to a screen where it's just the two of us. But I'm also happy just if we want to take that break and then just sort of walk around this game while we play and just like chat as we are now. We could also just do that and have the interview that way.
That works for me.
Okay.
I love a good hike, whether it's virtual or in person. So yeah, that sounds good to me.
Have you done any VR hikes? I'm curious.
I have not before. So this was like just before I started working for Indiana Humanities. So one of the programs that I've been alluding to that we work on involves going hiking. And during COVID, we couldn't really like have groups go hiking, and so I know there was at one point in time an idea of like, what if we did some like virtual hikes or some like if we filmed the hikes ahead of time and let them kind of virtually experience them, whether on like a communal stream or like as a upload they go and view on their own. But personally, no, I think this is maybe the closest I've done to ever like a VR because of how close I am to my computer right now. But no, I don't know if I'm at the point in my life yet where I'm like, yes, I need the VR headset right now. But I do like at some point I want to like go and try one because it sounds really, really cool.
Yeah, I don't own one, but I do have friends who play VR games, and I've tried it a few times. I think you always have that sort of like headache, I think, afterwards.
Yeah, I get motion sick fairly easily. Like if I'm going to go on a road trip or on an airplane or definitely on a roller coaster, like if I'm going to like a theme park that day, I'm going to make sure to take some Dramamine. So like I imagine I will need to take some Dramamine like a few hours before I poke around with a VR headset.
Yeah. Fun fact, I saw one of the world's first VR music videos many years. I guess it would have been, is it 10 years? It was like 10 years or 9 years ago. I forget where or how long ago it was, but it was at the Music and Gaming Festival in Baltimore, Maryland. Happens there every year. And that was a very, very cool experience. I got so into it. I was watching other people. Most people would just like, have the headset on, just kind of like bob their heads and like chill. But with me, I was like actively like exploring. I was like looking around, and I think at one point I almost ripped the headset out because I went too far and someone had to grab me and push me back. So very fun.
I love it.
Yes.
I have a strong desire to do that, and I think it's very fascinating to think about like what does humanities look like, and not just gaming but like VR in general, like when you can provide a digital experience like that. What does that look like, and how do we sculpt that, and how do we get people to interrogate humanities text still in like a virtual space, which I think each of our councils is exploring a different way. So like on a professional level it's fascinating. On a personal level, like Waves was talking about playing Moss in the chat. Like, I think that would be really, really fun to do. I'm way too much of a scaredy cat to play like Five Nights at Freddy's or Resident Evil in a VR. That would be a great way for me to like toss a headset across the room and burn hundreds of dollars immediately.
Yep. I've never heard of Moss, but that sounds very cute. Where you're a little mouse.
It's very, very cute. It's just a little mouse. A little mouse. You're just kind of guiding through a 3D area.
That sounds great. Okay, I think what we'll do is, speaking of rests for our eyes and our heads, let's take a 5 minute break. So what I'll do is, I'm going to just cut to me and Sam. We're going to cut to our break screen. So, for everyone watching us and who has stuck around with us so far, thanks so much for being here, whether it's your lunch break or if
Yeah.
you're just listening in the background while you're at work today. We're going to take a 3 to 5 minute break. I'm going to go get some water, maybe like stand up and stretch a little bit, and then Sam and I will be back. So don't go
Awesome.
anywhere, or you're welcome to go wherever you'd like. But if you'd like to hang out with me and Sam some more, we will be back very soon. Hello, everyone. We are back. I hope you had a good break. We are now back with Sam Opsahl from Indiana Humanities. So we decided to just quickly adapt and pivot. Usually, again, during the second half of our streams, after we play the game, we switch to a screen where it's just the two of us, so just me and Sam, just the two of our videos. But I think I've been personally so inspired by playing Firewatch so far. I would love to just keep strolling through this virtual park with Sam while we talk to one another about the work we do. So I think we're just going to do that. We're just going to take a nice walk. We're going to completely ignore the storyline of Firewatch and just wander around this park together, and we'll chat about Indiana Humanities and what it's like to work for a Humanities Council. And this is, again, everyone in chat, we always love to hear from you. So if you have questions for Sam, if you have any comments, feel free to drop them in chat. This is meant to be an experience for everyone, not just the two of us.
Yes.
So
I will try to be semi-responsible and keep an eye on the chat if there are questions.
sounds good. So I guess maybe I'll just start with a good origin story is always fun to hear. And I know I read your bio earlier. We chatted about this previously, but I guess if you just want to sort of reiterate, how, like, sort of what brought you onto your path to, like, working for Indiana Humanities. Like, you've worked at all these, different places. So just sort of like, how did you get to where you are today, I suppose?
I think about this quite often, or my wife thinks about it. She's like, how has he gotten himself here at this point? So yeah, back when I was just telling the story to one of our new summer interns the other day. Back when I started out in undergrad, everything up until that point in time had told me that I was going to go off to medical school. I was going to do pre-med and undergrad, and I was going to do all this biology stuff. And I like science, and I had a good time with it. But as I got further and further down that track, I realized that it became clear to me that, like, I don't know if, like, going to medical school is the thing I wanted to do with my life. That's not to say it was bad or anything like that. Just it didn't mesh with me as a person. Mm-hmm. And so at that point in time, it was like halfway through my junior year. I was looking around and I was like, what should I do with my life? And I was very thankful that I had a lot of really awesome mentors in my life at that time, and a lot of very awesome people. And they all effectively said some variation of the same thing, which is, you are an undergrad, you are still young, people make new decisions for their life all the time, and it's very okay to go ahead and find something new. And so I had this minor in history, and I knew I really liked this idea of telling stories and engaging with people around stories and understanding stories. And people were like, you need to follow your passion. And so I was like, I'm going to do the thing, and we're going to hope it works out okay. And so I switched halfway through my junior year, and lo and behold, it was not a block trail like you just came upon, but it was it worked out really, really well. I had a great time. I never looked back, and I was like, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And after that, for that first semester, so about to start my senior year, my advisor was like, hey, buddy, so I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. By a miracle of God, you are still graduating on time in 4 years. So you need to figure out what you're going to do after you graduate undergrad in a year. And I was like, oh no, did not think that part through. And so that summer between my junior and senior year, I came back home to Indy. I took an internship with the Indiana State Museum that we were just talking about. Mm-hmm. Up until that point, every summer I had worked as a YMCA camp counselor, and I knew I have, like, as you can probably already see, I have a big camp counselor energy, typical energy vibe.
Love it.
And so I was like, I can work in, like, a history type place and do the camp thing. Like, this is like a perfect combination of what I can be doing with myself. I didn't expect to, like, get any clarity on what I want to do with my life after I graduate, but I was like, this is some good experience, and I get money out of it. And I was a junior going on senior in college, and making something that pays you money is not to be discounted. And so while I was there, I'm slightly rambling, one of the folks who's in charge of the department I was a part of told me that she was like, hey, like IUPUI, which is one of the main institutions in Indianapolis. It's IU and Purdue's kind of, or it was IU and Purdue's kind of joint collaboration institution. They have this really, I was told they had this really awesome program that I should look into for my master's, and it's called public history. And I was like, this is all really cool. It's right up my alley. What on earth is public history? And what I quickly found out is public history is essentially everything that is history outside of the classroom. So museum, historical societies, it can be libraries, it can be archives, it can be nonprofit institutions like what Kathleen and I do. So many varied and exciting pieces of history that didn't involve being in the classroom. And I was like, okay, I think I want to do this thing. I applied. I was very, very fortunate to get into this program, and I was very overwhelmed with how supportive they were. And so, yeah, I did 2 years of my master's at IUPUI. While I was there, I wrote a master's thesis on 1980s LGBTQ activism in Indianapolis.
Very cool.
And how it worked and didn't work, or like combated is a really strong word, but how it dealt with the mayoral administration at the time, and how both of them tried to advance their agendas with and without each other. Mm-hmm. So it was a really, really like rewarding experience. Had a great time. Got to meet several different institutions while I was at this master's and do work with all of them, everything from like a public history membership organization that plans a conference every year called NCPH, the National Council on Public History, to working with the state historic preservation office and engaging with all of the efforts they're doing, and everything and everywhere in between. And they're really good folks there, and I had a great time. And so I graduated, or I walked in 2019, and then immediately after that, I was like, okay, I need to figure out what I'm going to do with myself now that I'm out here in the world. And so for the next 2 years, I worked a lot of different, like, not odd jobs, but a lot of different jobs I was piecing together into full-time work. I worked at the State Museum and the galleries and engaged guests as they came through, and different exhibits and different activities, and had a really great time working with people there. I worked for the public library and did research. We were revising and adding to this document called the Encyclopedia of Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. So it was a really great way to like keep using the research part of my brain. I taught at Indy. I'm finishing up my last summer semester at Indy right now for the foreseeable future. So I'm really grateful for and excited that I got this time to like get to be in the classroom a little bit and teach. Mm-hmm. And where else have I worked? And then I worked for some time at the YMCA as a site director. And you're probably thinking that does not involve public history at all. And you're kind of right. But while I was there, I got to lead a before and after school care program, and I got to learn a lot about what it's like to manage a daily slate of programs and events and moving people through a space, and how does that work efficiently and not efficiently and all that good stuff. And yeah, I'm so grateful for like the experiences I had with them. So all that leads to like July 2021, or maybe a few months earlier, I'd seen an ad that Indiana Humanities was hiring. Mm-hmm. They were one of the organizations I interacted with during grad school, and it was this kind of like dream job position. While I was happy with where I was at the time, I was like, I can't not apply. And things just kind of kept progressing in a positive manner, and then got this job, and I've just been thrilled to be here ever since, and working with this organization on developing its various programs to engage folks across the state and all the different realms of the humanities, whether that's literature and poetry to history and more. Yeah. Sorry, long-winded explanation, but
I
been
love a
a good
good
journey.
long-winded explanation, so no need to apologize. Also, especially since I have demonstrated my great navigational skills as
I
you were
was gonna
chatting.
say you had like the compass out and everything. Like I was very impressed with what I was watching take place there because it was like I do when I'm talking and walking at the same time. If I start talking, I have no idea where I'm going. So you were leading us on a great journey.
Yeah, I was thinking about let's try and wander north a little bit,
We
but
can get to that communication line finally.
yes. But Sam, I was wondering, so why the interest in history too? Like, you said you minored in it. It's like what made you pick history as opposed to anything else? And I'm
I
asking
think,
this,
yeah.
I'll back up and say, right, so I started out majoring actually technically in biology, not even psychology, but I realized very, very quickly that I was not good at chemistry, which was like required to be a biology major in college. And I thought, well, I've always been interested in how music affects people, I guess emotionally, how music affects our memories. And so I was like, oh well, I don't have to necessarily do neuroscience. I could just do psychology, which is, I don't want to say basically the same thing because it's not the same thing, but kind of I still
They're two halves of the same coin, right?
yeah, I can still study the brain and people, but I don't have to take chemistry. And so that's why I majored in psychology as an undergrad, but I also minored, I had two minors, I think, one in music and one in the history and philosophy of science. Partly because, I love science and all the classes I thought were really, really cool. But then I guess I got onto my path because towards the end of my undergrad career, this is sort of similar to your revelation as a junior and senior. Like I was at that time and I thought, man, I really don't want to work in a research lab. I thought that, if I want to learn how music affects people in real life, I want to talk to real people outside the lab in real world situations. And I learned about ethnomusicology I guess my third year of college, but I didn't know it was called that at the time. I was just taking courses on like, music of South Asia, music of Central Asia, all these different like world music classes, I guess you could say. But through that, I realized they were being taught by ethnomusicologists, and they're the ones who set me on this path, which eventually led me to the Department of Folklore and Ethnomusicology at Indiana University, Bloomington. And from there, I moved to Las Vegas and, a lot of years in between. But I just like hearing people's origin stories. Sorry, I'll let you get back now to talking about how you got into history.
Yeah, history is interesting for me because, like, on one hand, like, I think there's this like larger perception that history is like a lot of dusty books and dates and facts and memorizing, and I think like if it needs to be distilled down really, really far, then yes, there is like an element of that. Sorry, I'm just remembering a part later in the game where you have to come to this and there's a little bit of a spook.
Okay.
So I was like really worried that like I had not prepared you for the fact that there's a spook about
It's
to
okay.
happen,
I am
it's
okay with screaming on stream. I will put away my
been an incredible moment of me like gasping and you screaming. So yeah, if you ever see that part later in the game, kind of prep yourself.
Okay.
So yeah, so there are elements of history for that, but history for me, I think, is twofold. When I was growing up, and even now as a person, like I love like long form stories and watching kind of puzzle pieces get planted by authors early on in like a book series or a movie series, and watches those kind of flourish later on, and those puzzle pieces start coming together. So I get really excited and jazzed up about that, and I think. Largely what I'm saying then is I love this idea of connection and like how stories come together, but also how people come together and are united over stories. I love listening to other people tell their stories and how other people like are inspired by stories. So yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying like history blended into the humanities very easily for me, because the humanities I feel like are just various ways of people getting connected, and history is one way of doing that, but literature, poetry, even film sometimes for us, they're all dialects of the same kind of communication that I think about. I feel like I'm still like kind of honing in on how I feel about history and the humanities, but for now I think that's where I've ended up. That's kind of how I feel about the two topics that I spend so much time with.
Mm-hmm. Before I ask you the next question, I'll ask you this other question, which is, do you think I should drop down, or do you think I should? I think I can
I
keep
don't know,
walking.
because like across the ridge, I was thinking about this too, because across the ridge, I just saw like, I think it was like a watchtower maybe over
Yeah.
there.
Oh, wait.
Or like you saw it, like
Mm-hmm.
it's like on the other side of that like lookout, or oh, it's Delilah's Tower. I think later in the game you can go to Delilah's Tower, but for now, like that area is kind of off limits.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go down into the canyon and see what happens.
Okay.
There won't be a spook. It's like there's something from the story that generates the spook.
Oof, I could feel that thud.
I felt that in my knees a little bit too.
Sam, so I thought, now that we're in this portion of our stream, it'd be great to, chat about the work you do for Indiana Humanities that's tied to the environment and nature. And you've already sort of, alluded to some of these things, like bringing in Robin Wall Kimmerer, which is fantastic. But do you want to talk about, I guess, Indiana Humanities? I guess the thematic programming might be a good place to start, or wherever you would like.
Yeah, so I'm sure you've already like told your listeners several times as well, but like when you're a humanities council, every state and territory has one. There are over 50 of us, and we all do things a little bit differently, but the core of our makeup and our mission is we are provided funding by the National Endowment for the Humanities. Most of us have been doing this for almost spot on 50 years now. And with that funding, we do a couple things. One, we serve as grant makers, and we're distributing those funds out to various organizations like libraries and museums to do humanities programming, humanities events, humanities projects, all that stuff. And I've got some really awesome coworkers that do those roles here at Indiana Humanities. And then I work on the other half of the organization. I work in the program side of things. And so we then use some of that funding from the National Endowment for the Humanities to do programs that we feel like meet the needs of folks that live here in Indiana, and also do engage them with some of the core texts that we feel like are relevant to folks that live here. So I, amidst a really awesome program team full of tons of people doing awesome things, I work on our thematic programming primarily. And what Indiana Humanities does every few years to kind of refresh and refocus and re-energize our organization and our mission is we choose a new theme to follow. Sometimes we try to time that with big events coming up. Sometimes it's what we think is most needed in the state of Indiana at that given point in time. So in years past, we've done themes that look at the mixture of, man, I forgot about this cave too. Look at the mixture of science and the humanities. Recently we did, like right before I came on, we did a theme that looks at like kind of the urban-rural divide within Indiana and the nation at large. Mm-hmm. But right now we're in the middle of a theme called Unearthed, and we are doing all sorts of fun environmental programming through Unearthed. We're looking at how folks here in Indiana, how Hoosiers are affecting the environment, how the environment affects us. And we're doing that through the lens of waterways, the land, food pathways. If you can think of it, we've probably done something with it or are preparing to do something with it right now. And so what that looks like in practice on a daily ritual for me is I have two kind of program series that I primarily look at. One of those is our film tour. Every few years, we fund a new group of films that are being put together by local filmmakers, usually about 5 or 6. So we fund them, we give them about a year and a half to go off and make these things, and then we come together to do a film tour where we, this got so spooky so suddenly, where we come together to watch these films in different pockets of the state, but then, and most importantly to our mission, we discuss these films and what they say and don't say about the Hoosier experience, and treat them like we do any text that we do here at the Indiana Humanities Council, and kind of use that discussion to further engagement with our mission. So yeah, that's our film tour. And then we also do campfires. And campfires is the program I've been alluding to throughout this experience. What we do on a campfire is we spend usually about 2 hours with attendees out at a local nature preserve, state park, city park, trail, even on a river sometimes. And we'll go on a journey if we're hiking, usually no more than like 45 minutes to an hour. We don't go much further than a mile. As much as I love to get a big hike in, we are not like strapping on the camels and like going and like bringing our snacks with us for this. But yeah, while we're on the trail, or while we're trekking, I should say, we'll bring a naturalist with us, and the naturalist will be usually somebody that's an expert on the area that we're in, and they're pointing out like the flora and fauna as we've gone. They'll stop and say, hey, let's look at this spot. So very much like what you're doing right now for the game. And then the other like co-leader of this experience will be a local humanities scholar. So usually a lit scholar or a poetry scholar. We're starting to expand into what like historians on this hike look like. And they'll usually bring like 3 or 4 readings with them. The Robin Wall Kimmerer one I did earlier is one of those as an example. And so we'll pause, we'll look at the surroundings, we'll do a reading, we'll discuss how those surroundings and that reading kind of pair with one another and what they say about one another. And then we'll keep going, and we'll stop 2 or 3 times along the hike. We'll go for about a mile and a half. We'll come back to where we've parked, which is usually like some type of campfire site. So we'll sit around a fire afterwards. We'll have a meal. Upland Brewing Company always donates beer for this.
Oh, I love
Upland.
Upland.
Very grateful for their, yeah, we're very grateful to be working with them on this. So everybody gets a beer from Upland. Everybody has a good meal. We usually make s'mores if it's not too hot around a campfire. And then we do like a wrap-up discussion about what we've just experienced and what we're talking about. And yeah, it's a program that's gone through multiple themes for us. So it's no pun intended with the trees in front of us, but it's starting to become like an evergreen program for us. But we always find ways to kind of reinvent it with each theme, and people love it. We love doing it. So no complaints there, I guess. But yeah, those are like 2 of the ways that we like to engage Hoosiers in the humanities beyond the usual, like, let's sit down in the classroom and do a reading together. And I like doing those as well. I love a good book club discussion, but there's something special that goes with those moments when you're doing it out on a trail or in a movie theater or something like that.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And also I'll say, 78 Half Sheshe, thank you so much for your kind words. They wrote, Kathleen and Sam, enjoy hearing about your love of ethnomusicology and history and your paths to those fields. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't even I feel like,
as well.
Yeah, Sam has given us a very good story. I just sort of gave like the 10% version of my story, but that's very kind. And I guess I love asking people too about how they ended up where they are, because especially if younger folks are watching this, or even if you're very early on in your professional career, I find that, especially when I was in graduate school, a lot of people don't always realize that, outside of academia, you have all these other public opportunities to do this kind of work, right? Like the public humanities, public history, as you said, Sam. So these are, I think, real things. And I think more and more departments across the nation are starting to do or train their students in doing public work, which I completely appreciate.
I'm glad you brought it up in that way, because like I was very fortunate to have a couple like mentors in grad school really guide me through this process and kind of show me how to get there, because even just with the humanities in general, academia or not, like, that path isn't always like the most clear thing. We as a society like have a lot of emphasis on STEM, and that's really important stuff. I think when we talk about STEM versus the humanities, sometimes it's an either or thing, and I value both. So I think I don't want to go down that rabbit hole is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, it is funny that both of us did, right? I think, both of us started in, I guess, more science-y STEM fields like biology / pre-med before ending up where we are today at humanities councils.
Yeah, and a lot of those STEM pathways are quite rigid in a way that I appreciate and enjoy, of like, okay, you're going to go to this school for this, and they're going to go like move to this degree for that, or you're going to move over here and get your postdoc, and then you're going to start moving down the public path. And those ways are a little bit more defined and supported. And then if you go to like a school for like a liberal arts degree, for instance, like you see like there's always advertisements that are like, this president of this company had a history degree, and you're like, okay, that is fascinating, but like how do I get from point A to point B? Then it's cool that like the guy who does this, or the person who does that every day, or was the president of the United States a long time ago, got there, but like, how does that translate to my life? What does that look like for me? Like, I have this degree, or I have this passion that can take me to a lot of places, but so yeah, I think that's like a long-term project, and I don't know what the solution to that looks like, but I know it starts with people ironically sharing their stories and telling their stories and talking about how we got to where we were, so we can show other people like there are paths you can take here.
I'm taking a pause every once in a while because I just love like these little details, like so just like little smoky clouds, or just the way that the sunlight is like bouncing off these rocks, and again just like the art style of this. I love rays of light, sort of this like Lion King-ish rays of light.
Yeah, I was
fun.
just in Zion National Park with my family last month. I can't believe we're in June, but yeah, last month. And so this kind of like is giving me callbacks to kind of the scale of that moment and the rocks of that location. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
That's so funny that you mentioned Zion, because the first year I moved to Nevada, so I told myself, why am I still living in Indiana when I could be living with my boyfriend in Nevada? Because he had moved there, so we were doing long distance for about a year, and then I realized, I'm not even taking classes. I'm just kind of like half teaching, half supposed to be working on my dissertation. So that's why I moved to Las Vegas to join him and look for a job, but still jobless that fall. It was 2019. I just really missed leaves. In Las Vegas, of course, has leaves, but they're not like the kind of really nice, like red, orange, and yellow, like the foliage that get. Yes. Yeah, we were just talking about Brown County. Like, I missed like Brown County and driving to Nashville and seeing the forest. And so I asked my boyfriend, I was like, can you please take me to somewhere where I can see the leaves changing color? And it was like October or November, and we went to Zion for a day and just to see the leaves changing, and then we drove back. So we did it on one day. We drove up to Zion from Vegas, and then we drove back. So I was only in the park for really like a couple hours, so I didn't get to see that much. But it was
that's like 8 hours of driving, but I'm sure the payoff was worth it.
It was, yeah. I felt a lot better, and it just made me think. You just said Zion. I was like, yeah, I went to Zion because I missed the leaves changing, and it really, I think, the importance again of nature for mental health. Like, I just really needed that. Like, having grown up in the Midwest, I'm sure that my sister-in-law is from Henderson, so maybe she doesn't have this exact same feeling about leaves. I'm guessing. I don't want to put words into her mouth, but for me, I missed, every time it's the fall, I miss the leaves changing.
It's one of the hallmarks of the year for me, or like the earmarks that like I'm like, okay, it's a new point in the year, and it's important.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, you said this word, which is a great word. You said Hoosier. Sam.
Yes.
Sam, what is a Hoosier? Can you tell us?
There are lots of different definitions for what a Hoosier is. I'm a Purdue grad, so for me, Hoosier translates to what the enemy is. My mother and brother are both IU people, so I will probably have a text on my phone after this because I said that. I could talk about that rivalry a long time. But so a Hoosier is a resident of Indiana at baseline. And there are probably, and this isn't exaggerating, but let's say it's exaggerating, like 5,000 definitions for what a Hoosier is and how this term came to be associated with residents of Indiana for anybody that's watching. If anybody that's watching right now wants to comment in the chat, I'm sure you will have a story for what you've heard is like the how Hoosiers got their name.
Yeah, no,
how
so
I understood it,
I'm going to interrupt you briefly and say, please tell us, if you're listening in chat, tell us what you think, what your understanding of a Hoosier is, if you're able to, and I'll let Sam continue. So go ahead, Sam.
Yeah. So the story I always told when I was at the State Museum, because I think it's a term used a lot, understandably so, at the Indiana State Museum, and so within like half of an exhibit, the term pops up, and people who aren't from around and have come to visit the State Museum are like, "What on earth is a Hoosier?" one of the common kind of traits associated with residents of Indiana, as well as the Midwest in general, is that Midwest politeness, or in Indiana, it's Hoosier hospitality. So my understanding of the term is that it came from whenever somebody's knocking on the door to say hello, and people from Indiana would always say, "Who's there?" And over time, that blurred from "who's there" to "who's there," and like kind of contracted into Hoosier. So my understanding is it's a term of endearment that came from communication over time, and that's how we got to be called Hoosiers. Hoosiers are also the mascot of Indiana University. I went to Purdue, and so we have a nice rivalry going that way. So yeah, if you Google Hoosiers, you'll probably see the cream and crimson of IU quite a bit, but you'll also probably see various stories for how Hoosiers got their name.
And Rio Girl says, "Isn't Hoosier a basketball film?"
Yes, Hoosier is a basketball film. That honestly is probably how more people know the term. Is there's a film called Hoosiers that I think every day on the last year of school we had to watch Hoosiers growing up. I'm sure that's like the experience of a lot of people, but it's like a Miracle on Ice kind of basketball memory, or a miracle type of film about this like very small town team competing in a basketball competition. We love our basketball in Indiana. I always tell people that folks in Indiana are born knowing how to make a layup, and they're usually born with like a little bit of that Hoosier hospitality in them.
I love that. I also laughed because again, my boyfriend is from Indiana, and I went to school there, so I have a lot of friends in Indiana and from Indiana, and we always joke about, and this has sort of made its way across the internet over the years, but the Midwest OPE. Oh.
Yes.
And then when it's time to leave, when you're at a party with friends, or let's say you're hosting and it's time for people to go, you just kind of like slap your knees and just go,
yes.
"Welp," or you just do the knee slapping.
I am as guilty as the rest. Also, kind of addendum to that is like the Midwestern, like 15-minute like goodbye. It's not like an Irish goodbye, but we take our time while we're seeing people out the door.
We do. I'm just thinking, so the last time, it was such a meta moment because my friends and I were literally talking about this. We were saying, like, sharing stories about, saying goodbye and how long it can take. And then we were doing it by the door. So we were doing the extended 15-minute goodbye by talking about the goodbye. And the way we finally got my friend to leave is that we said, this wasn't on purpose. We just sort of realized, like, oh, isn't there like traffic from like a game coming up? And he was like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." And he was just like, "Well, see ya." And he just like left. And it was just like this abrupt, like, "Oh, yep, guess there's traffic. We gotta head out."
That's funny.
But yeah, we are at the lake.
We made it.
Yeah.
Can you go? I didn't realize you could go all the way. Or is it stopping you from going any further?
Yeah. I'm trying. I'm pressing forward, and it looks like I am going nowhere.
They put the wall up.
Yep. See if we can explore the boundaries. Sam, I wanted to ask you, as we're sort of here as well, I asked you earlier about, I guess, sort of what you do at Indiana Humanities, and then, places you've been across the state, where you've been. I didn't ask you, what are some of your favorite places in Indiana? And I would love to know that.
Question.
Yeah, I ask it of our Nevada guests. I always ask, what are your top 3 favorite places in Nevada? But I guess with you, what are, I don't want to say limit it to 3, but what are some of your favorite places in Indiana?
I have been trying to think of a good answer for this because I thought I might need to talk about this. And so for the last 24 hours, I've been trying to like rack my brain for how I should answer this. I'm glad you brought up Nashville or Brown County earlier because I love going down to Brown County and exploring the forests there and hanging out and getting a bite to eat in Nashville, Indiana. So absolutely one of my like favorites. Okay. So we've done something in like slightly southern Indiana. I'm trying to think if there's anywhere else in southern Indiana. Indianapolis is home for me. I think that's just one that jumps to mind. Like when it's home, it'll always have like some sort of significance to you, right? And there's so many different places to go in Indianapolis, everywhere from the south side where I grew up to downtown to going out to the speedway for the 500. I don't know anything about cars, but when it becomes 500 time, I know all of these drivers and I know all these driving techniques, and then it evaporates out of my brain again once Memorial Day weekend's over. The state fairgrounds, the various restaurants on Massachusetts Avenue. I could go on and on about Indianapolis. Trying to think of a third spot that I want to like highlight is important to me. The drive on the way up, I-65, Interstate 65, and I have a long and complicated and arch nemesis kind of relationship. But the drive that I would take from Indianapolis up to Purdue and anywhere on I-65 is always got these rolling fields of grain or some type of other like agricultural crop being grown. And if you can hit it, so I'm cheating a little bit because I'm not choosing a specific location, but if you can hit somewhere on that drive when the sun is setting, one of my, like, I don't know if it's a hot take opinion or not, but the sunset is always much prettier here in Indiana and very unique. So if you can hit a sunset over one of those rolling fields of grain, or corn, I should say, I think that's one of the prettier sites that we have here in the state. I think we're going to get like 100% completion on these supply caches, by the way, because we've hit quite a few.
We have.
And they have horrible security practices in this park. Anywhere with a good sunset, Indianapolis, and then Nashville are my three.
I'm just laughing to myself thinking about security because I recently finished watching Ted Lasso, which I won't spoil, but
I have 2 episodes left. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I just watched the finale last night over dinner, but was it 2 episodes ago? So maybe you did see this episode, the one where Jamie Tart goes to visit Keeley, and they talk about the hacking, and then I laughed so hard because I guess he said, I thought I was being clever when I used password and I spelled it with 2 S's. I just like died at that line. So he thought password just spelled with 1 S.
Loved his little redemption arc he's gone on this season. I'm happy for him.
It is great. Yeah, so we won't spoil for anyone who hasn't seen it. So it looks like Tan hasn't seen season 3. So sorry, Tan, there's a spoiler where you find out that Jamie Tart thinks that password is spelled with 1 S and not 2.
What a guy.
Yeah. But yeah, we're thinking about the security for this security cache, just 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ooh, a new t-shirt and a spooky book.
Yeah, very spooky. Sorry. I'm trying to gently put it in. There is no like
put it back in the library, the lending library.
Yeah, sometimes there's an option to like put it down, and I think that returns it to where it was, but
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
Oh, it made it. Okay, we're good.
Right. So we're sort of wrapping up the end of our stream. We have about 10, 15 minutes left. And
Okay.
Sam, I am going to ask you the question that I ask of every guest on our program, which is, what do the humanities mean to you?
It's a good question. I think I'm actually going to go back to what I was talking about earlier, where it's the humanities are these like these ways these different like dialects and tools we use to connect with one another, especially when like normal conversation doesn't quite cut it. Like let's read a poem about it or literature about it or tell a story about it, and then we have some time to talk about it, and it creates this like common experience, but a common experience that we all bring our different perspectives to, and can provide community and discussion around. I feel like I'm saying a lot of like humanities buzzwords right now. If you're not a humanities person, that might have all sounded really great, but if you're a humanities person, you're like, wow, you just said like all of the like keywords we use in our daily life. But yeah, for me, it's all about like connection and the various ways we can do so.
I love that. I mean, there is no right or wrong answer, of course, and so I always like
sure,
hearing.
I'll think of an even like different answer tomorrow when I'm sitting at work. I'm like, I should have used that one.
Well, I would love to have you back on at some point, and then I would be happy to ask you again and see how your answers evolved. I was sort of, I'm listening to all of the bird sounds in the background, and it's been great. This is a little bit back, so thank you for that, Sam. Thank you for sharing your answer.
Of
Earlier, when you're
course.
talking about fields of grain or fields of corn, this is a little bit silly, but at any point has that meme song, like that auto tune, like it's corn, um,
Oh my
big
God.
lumpy, it's got the juice.
Yes,
Has that
it
made
gets
its
stuck
way?
in. Oh yes, it gets stuck in my head way too easily.
I'm
So
sorry.
Kathleen, no, you're good. I was like, I appreciate you bringing that background. It had been too long. I'd been too lucky up until this point. But yes, a common occurrence on social media.
Okay. Because, I grew up in Illinois, and so for me, we did have corn, but I think we had more soybeans than corn. At least I remember growing
Okay.
up, I saw way more soybeans, but I'm still, of course, very fond and close to all of our fields of grain, whether it's corn or soy. And so when that song has sort of made its way across the internet, I don't know, it makes me
I
think of
love it.
home. Yeah, it's great. I love the people who do those auto-tuned videos. They're great. I don't know if you've seen the full version or just heard like the 15-second like version, but the whole song is great.
Yeah, he's like the full version. He's like the cutest kid ever. But I also like as a child of like the late '90s, like early 2000s, like love me some auto tune making an appearance.
Hmm.
So yeah, a bit of both.
Okay. Well, I don't know if we'll ever add it. So, one thing that we wanted to do is eventually upgrade our stream. So right now, so we haven't hit affiliate yet, but once we do, we have a lot more options where we can add like channel points and emotes and redeems. I think we could probably add sound
Okay.
alerts then. I always wondering like, should we add the corn song? Probably not, but I do think about it sometimes.
It can be my intro music when I come on next
It
time.
sounds perfect. Okay, I'm wondering if anyone in chat has any last questions or comments for Sam today before we end our stream. Sam, it's been so great having you on. I thank you for, first of all, like agreeing to do this. It's been great, getting to know you over the last, few weeks or even months. I think we first chatted a few months ago when your
Yeah.
colleague Marisol put us in touch, and that's because I met
Mhm.
Marisol at the National Humanities Conference, and we were chatting
Yeah.
about programming, and I got this email maybe that was like, you should talk to Sam. and
She is
indeed we did.
so good at that, and like is one of she does so many things well. But is one of the best things she does is connecting people and be like, you need to talk to this person because you all would be awesome together.
Uh-huh. Like, I don't
Yeah,
understand games, but you should talk to Sam.
yes, I it's it's been like a joy like getting to talk to you about this and exploring like what humanities could look like through like this virtual idea, and treating video games as a text, but also as an experience and a way to spark discussion and have that connection. I'm just like thrilled to be here and have like spent the last few hours with you, so thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course. And it's not just because I lived in Indiana, so I have a fondness for Indiana. So that's not why I'm saying this, but I really do think that Indiana Humanities, if y'all haven't done that yet, here I'm just gonna put this in chat, I think. So you can check out the website for
Please do.
Indiana Humanities. They have such fantastic programming, amazing graphic design. I love all of the messaging. It's so warm and friendly and welcoming. Like I don't think it's pretentious at all, which is what I love. It just makes me feel like I'm talking with friends and we are learning together about the humanities. And every council, of course, has
Yeah.
different ways to, approach communications, but I've always loved the style of Indiana Humanities.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, our mission, like in a nutshell, is getting people to think, read, and talk. And so we always try to approach that with the same like excitement, but Hoosier hospitality and humbleness, and have a good time with people and entertain and educate at the same time.
Yeah. I'm going to quit this game and just I'm gonna my words are failing me. We're going to
You're
transition
good.
into the screen where it's just the two of us. So let me do that real
Sounds good.
quick. So Sam unfortunately is stuck staring at the game, but now I get to see Sam's face because if you look over, you'll
I
see
love
me.
it.
But yeah, Sam, are there any sort of last comments or thoughts or takeaways you'd like to share with everyone in the audience before we say goodbye? And of course, again, if anyone has any last burning questions or comments, feel free to share them in chat. But otherwise, yeah, we're nearing the end of our time.
I think all I have is just that like thanks for being here. Like, I think this is like a really, really exciting program that you all are doing right now. Humanities at Play is like such a great idea. I'm excited to see where it goes and what it becomes and who all comes here and what you all get to play and talk about together. I'm thankful for everybody that tuned in. I know you all could probably be playing like Diablo right now and like the big launch of that, but thank you for pausing your demon slaying to come hang out with us right now. But yeah, feel free to click on Indiana Humanities. I think we have a few like different newsletters and so on and so forth that you can subscribe to. So please do that. Follow us on social media. I feel like we're a pretty fun hang on social media. So come hang out with us. Check out our programs. If you work for an organization, specifically humanities organization, check out our grant opportunities. We'd love to support you and what you're doing. Yeah, thank you again for having me on.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. And I'll add, thank you to everyone who could be demon slaying right now, either virtually or at work. You might have your own, professional demons to be slaying instead of in game. So wherever you are watching, whether it's live right now or in the archived version that will be on YouTube in a couple days, so we'll upload the recording so anyone who missed our stream can see us chatting and get to know you better, Sam. And we'll make sure to share that later. Thank you so much for stopping by. Before we leave, I'm just going to add a little bit of promotion here, which is I think I mentioned earlier, this week I'll be traveling. I'll be out of town for work. We have our visiting author, very excited, Jenna Rose Nethercott, who is the author of Thistlefoot, and she's one of our featured authors this year for Nevada Reads statewide book club. She'll be traveling all around our state, getting to go to places that I've never gotten to go to. So I'm eager to see. I'm hoping that she'll take some like really nice photos or videos that we can put on our social media later. But I'll be gone. We will return with Humanities at Play on Twitch on Tuesday, June 20th at 12 p.m. Pacific. And so we're going to continue our playthrough of Season A Letter to the Future with Dr. Josh Webster. That has been a really, really fun game. I really enjoy. It's a little bit like, it reminds me of Firewatch in that it's a little bit of like open world exploration, but you take it at your own pace, and there's just a lot to discover. So that's been a lot of fun. And then on Saturday, June 24th, that same week, at 10:30 a.m. Pacific, we're going to do something a little bit new. So this is what I love about Humanities at Play, at least the online component. We haven't done our in-person events yet, but soon. But for online, we are going to be trying, I guess we're going to be celebrating, is what I should say. We're going to be celebrating Free RPG Day. So we're going to have Josh Webster back, and we're also going to be having Adam Ward from the Winchester Dondero Cultural Center in Las Vegas. So we'll have two guests, which I've never done before on stream, and we're going to be chatting about world building and character development in tabletop games. So similar to D&D. D&D is not the only TRPG out there, but it's one of them. And we're just going to be chatting about that on Saturday. So super, super thrilled. Everyone's welcome to come and join us or lurk, whatever you're comfortable with. But either way, like Sam said, you can find out more about the work of our two humanities councils on our websites, Nevada Humanities or Indiana Humanities. And we have lots of exciting programs planned ahead of us. This recording of this video will be up on YouTube in a few days, so you're always welcome to comment there. But yeah, thank you again so much, Sam. I would love to have you on again in the future, whether it's continuing our playthrough of Firewatch or if we do another game, or if you think, if you can convince your other colleagues to join me now that they've seen you, hopefully, or will have seen you. Maybe they'll.
I'm sure both people here at Indiana Humanities, but really like people throughout the various humanities councils will be excited to like see what you're doing here and get involved. But yes, please feel free to have me back whenever you need me. I would love to be here, and I'm so excited about like some of this other programming you have coming up, whether it's Free RPG Day or otherwise. I'm gonna be checking it out. It sounds like a blast.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and take care. We'll see you next time.